get a definitive pronunciation of your last name?
Yeah, Bojorquez.
Okay.
Yeah, the J's like an H.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So what's the past half week been like for you?
It's been pretty fun, you know. Things went well in LA, wasn't too sure what was going to end up happening, and, you know, I was fortunate enough to end up somewhere, you know, great team and have an opportunity to play, so, you know, it's been a pretty good week for me.
How did you find out about the trade?
You know, Les and Sean brought me in and just kind of explained that they were going to keep Johnny as the punter for this year. They were able to work some things with him, you know, but said that they were going to try and work a trade for me and, you know, get me somewhere that, you know, I can play at, that, you know, is looking for a punter potentially. So just let it be at that, and then got a call from agent a couple hours later and found out I was going to Green Bay.
Did you have a feeling as camp was progressing that that was the direction it was going to eventually go? Or what was your gut telling you?
Honestly, I had no idea. You know, it would have been nice to stay just for the fact, you know, I'm from that area, and, you know, I mean, who doesn't like a new stadium, you know? But really, I had no idea. You know, I mean, Johnny's a, you know, 4-time All-Pro, one of the best punters to ever play. So trying to beat him for a job, you know, is dang near impossible. You know, you need to have, like, perfect games. So going into it, you know, I was just trying to keep my focus on doing better than I did last year, which I feel like I've been, you know, kind of doing and showing, and trying to just get a job somewhere if it wasn't there. So, you know, things worked out pretty nice.
What was your mindset, Corey, when, just like when free agency started, you know, you don't get tendered, and are you thinking that, you know, it might go all the way to the end of training camp and final cuts before you land a job, or were you thinking this would go, you know, a different route?
You know, it was kind of hard with the whole cap situation with COVID and everything. I know that made it tough for teams to really have that, you know, any kind of money to really get more guys. So going into free agency, you know, I kind of just put my faith in God and just, you know, trusted in that. And if I end up somewhere, that's where I'm supposed to be. And, you know, I'm just try not to, you know, worry about it.
You know, one thing we've talked about is the chemistry between the snapper and the holder.
Mm-hmm.
I would say obviously it's important, but is that difficult, or is that something that comes pretty quick and natural?
I think it comes pretty naturally, especially when you start working with so many guys over the years. You know, like being able to work with new guys kind of starts to flow pretty well. You know, you get used to their little mannerisms and stuff, so you can kind of expect when like a snap's going to come for punts and that kind of thing. But, you know, we got a lot of good work today with Hunter and Mason, so really looking forward to getting out there with them.
Hey, Corey, I thought I knew a little bit about punting, but I read Wes's story. Wes is the good-looking curly-haired guy down there, where he said that you're left-footed, but you're actually right-handed.
Yep.
Is that common? I guess I never really heard that.
I don't know. I know a couple kickers that I've worked with in the past that are right-footed but left-handed. You know, they're opposite. But, I mean, there's not really many lefty punters out there, and the ones that are, I'm not really too sure. I think Matt and Buffalo is also right-handed, if I'm correct. At least throws right, I think. But to be honest, I have, you know, no idea.
Remember Mike McCarthy when he was here and in the face of left-footed punter would always say, man, that ball just comes off differently. You have to. Do you think that's an advantage for you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you look at New England, I mean, they had a lefty punter for, you know, how many years straight, you know, and, you know, you can even ask some returners, like, just seeing the rotation. I'm even just catching, you know, from a lefty snapper, you know, it just messes with your eyes a little bit. So I think that's the little advantage that it gets. If you got to make them think that extra split second, you know, it could cause them to muff the punt. So I think potentially, yeah, you know, it could be a help.
I know you're from California, but are you a cold weather guy being in Buffalo and now Green Bay?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Punting in California, I mean, it's never easy, but it's definitely easier when you don't have to, you know, worry about snow or wind, really. You know, so for me, it makes it fun. You know, I enjoy kicking in that kind of climate. You know, I feel like I've adapted to it pretty well the last couple of years in Buffalo, so I'm excited for it.
Is there a challenge to kicking or punting in the cold? I don't know anything about punting, so.
I mean, if it's just cold, I mean, not too much for me personally. The harder thing is maybe just trying to stay warm, you know, on the sideline. But, I mean, you got a kicking net and, you know, they got heaters and stuff. It's really when it gets windy, that's more of when it gets a little tough. But, I mean, cold, at least for me, you know, not really that much of a difference.
The ball doesn't come off your foot different, or it doesn't do anything different in the air?
No, I mean, it might not go as far. But, I mean, at the same time, if you're going from 55 yards to 50, I don't think, you know, anyone's really complaining about that.
Hey, Corey, one thing I was wondering about, looking back at your story, coming out of high school, was there a lot of interest, college-wise, or what was sort of the decision to go the JUCO route and then obviously, find the opportunity?
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. I'd talked to a couple local schools, Sacramento State and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And I was actually verbally committed to Sac State. But coming out of school, I wasn't really sure how football was going to go, and Cal Poly was a big engineering school, and that's what I wanted to go to school for. So I was going to try and go there, but there were some roster issues. They didn't have the space, so they kind of told me, go to a JUCO for a year, and then, we'll see, next year. And I was like, okay, I can work with that. And I had one offer to Indiana State, FCS school, and it was a real quick situation to have to pick up and go in a couple days. I didn't really feel right about it. So coming out of high school, didn't really have too much interest, really. Which I was okay with. I'd only played for 2 years, so went to JUCO. Had a great time there. Actually played with a couple guys that are in the league now, like DJ Reed in Seattle. But I think going that route definitely kind of helped give me that mindset to work through adversities and that kind of thing, not let it slow you down.
Corey, with the Packers trading for you, obviously they saw something in you. What can you share about maybe the expectations or the conversation they had with you and what you guys are doing?
Yeah, they just told me that they were, really excited to have me come in here and know that, I've played in cold weather a lot, and that was something that, obviously helps in a team where it gets pretty cold, and snowy. So, that's pretty much the, just the conversation. They're excited to get to work and, see what I can do.
When you signed with the Rams, did you have other options, or was it pretty much well, these are the only guys who are calling, so I'm going to go there, even though they got an All-Pro there? No,
there was a few other teams that could have worked something out with, but LA I felt was the best place for me. Being able to be near home was kind of cool, but more of really just Johnny being there was a big factor in it, because I felt I was kind of looking for ways that I can up my game from next season, and with the amount of success that he's had, I figured at the very least, if I go out there, I can learn a lot from him, and I feel like I really did get to expand my game. I got a couple different punts now that I can do that I wasn't really comfortable with before, but practicing there with him and, being able to do that banana punt in the Denver game, pretty nice for me, yeah.
Hey, Corey, how would you rate yourself as a tackler, and what's your approach to tackling if you are, in fact, turn out to be the last one of the
I've only had to make one tackle in my career last year at Tennessee, and I definitely thought I hit him a lot harder than I did, so, if I have to, I'm not afraid of going in there and doing something about it. I'd like to think I'm a little more athletic than most punters, so hopefully, though, I punt well enough we don't have to do that.
You led the league last year, obviously, in average. The Bills, they had to have made a push to keep you. Did they really try? We wanted you to sign long term?
We talked for a couple months trying to work something out, but, in the end, we just weren't able to kind of come together on a deal with something, and I was kind of hoping something would work out with the tender at least, but, they chose to go a different direction, which, by all means, nothing against them, it's a business. Those guys really helped me out the first couple years of my career and helping really build that mindset of being, mentally tough, which when you're in places like Green Bay, you got to have that as a specialist to be able to work through the conditions. So, it is what it is. It didn't work out, and that's all right, Wish them the best, as I'm sure they wish me. So, excited to see how they do.
So it's interesting, I'm not sure a lot of punters who have options would go to the team with Johnny Hecker, because he is one of the best to ever do it. So you learned a couple punts from him. What are those punts, and what did you learn from him specifically with that?
Doing those banana punts, kind of like a side spin punt sort of thing. I'd never done it before the Denver game, so when we let it for that pooch punt, lefties usually go to the right with it. So if you look at the tape, the returner's already standing on the right hash, even though we're on the left hash, thinking we're going that way. Then it throws him off because now we're actually going to the left, so it gives our coverage team a little bit more time to get downfield, and ended up being able to down it on the one thanks to those guys. So just little things like that, or something like Sam Koch also does in Baltimore. He'll kind of show one way and then pull the ball back the other. Doing that kind of thing. Something I've been working on.
Corey, what was going through your mind on that, though? Because that ended up going 70 yards, right? Is that the one?
No. That was the one that was It's like 47, 48, yeah.
Did you put one, was the 70-yard one down to the 1 too then? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that play out? I didn't get to watch. Didn't get to
I just hit a real clean ball. You know, when I first hit it, I was like, oh, dang, you know, like I thought I'd, you know, line drived it too much, you know, so the hang time wasn't really matching the distance. And it was a real tight spiral. And so I was just, you know, at that point, not really, it's either going to be a touchback or it's not. So I'm standing there, you know, just like, go over to the sideline, you know. And at first I thought it was a touchback. You know, I couldn't tell. And then I saw the ref kind of come back up to the 1, you know, give the point. And I was like, no way. Like, there's no way that just happened, you know. So it was pretty cool.
Or what do you consider a good hang time for you? I know it depends on the punt as well, but what have you averaged over the years? Is that something that's improved over time?
I think so. You know, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what like my season average in hang time is, but a lot of guys are cool with like a 4.5 hang time with like about a 45-yard distance. I like to push myself a little more. I try to be, you know, 4.7's kind of like my criteria for myself. You know, not that 4.5 is a bad hang time by any means, but the more hang time I can get on it, you know, less work our coverage team has to do, you know, forcing fair catches. So I like to hold myself to a little bit higher standard than what most teams are like okay with, just to kind of push myself so I'm not ever getting complacent with my performance.
Did you ask for number 7, or did they give it to you?
I asked for it. Yeah.
What can you tell us about the new long snapper? Not new to you, but Stephen came with you.
Yeah, great guy. You know, got a lot of work with him. Where in L.A. Sorry, great guy. You know, had a lot of fun working with him. You know, he's a good snapper, good at protection. So you know, when I found out he was coming here too, it was pretty cool to have a familiar face coming in with me. So excited to see what he does.
Hey, Corey, I don't claim to know as much about punting as Rob claims to know. So you have a great year in Buffalo. They don't tender you. Mm-hmm. You go to LA where you know you're facing long odds. It says something about your confidence, right? You were willing to do that.
Yep.
But does that just speak to how hard it is to kind of, as a specialist in this league, to eventually find a home? And do you feel like this has the potential to be that?
Yeah, I mean, making it as a specialist in the first place is really tough. It's not like most positions where you got 2 or 3 of them on a team. You know, usually you have 1 punter, 1 kicker, and 1 snapper. So that right there, you know, there's 32 jobs. You know, so that already makes it tough, and you're going against established guys a lot of times. You know, like when I was in New England going against Ryan, you know, he's there for 7 years, played in 3 Super Bowls or something like that. Like, you know, he did it all. You know, so coming in, it doesn't really matter where you go. You got pretty stacked competition. You know, but I mean, I use it as a way to push myself to be better. You know, so I enjoy it. You know, going against Johnny was a lot of fun. You know, definitely pushed me to like never be able to take a day off from watching film or doing, you know, different exercises that I need to for punting. So it's just something I embrace, you know, and hopefully can continue that this season. And, you know, it'd be great, you know, stay here long term, find a home.
And was that your thought process in going to LA, though, was if this doesn't work, I'm going to get better and I'm going to find a place elsewhere? Was that kind of...
That was my plan, yeah. You know, go in and, you know, hopefully win the job. If not, at least put on enough tape, you know, of showing the improvements that I have made, that I haven't, you know, hit my peak yet. Keep getting better, and, you know, you never know in this league. You can have a great preseason and still not end up somewhere as a specialist. You know, it just happens. So, you know, again, like I said earlier, just putting my trust in God and, you know, hoping that He'll put me in the right spot.
Do punters have other punters they look up to in terms of modeling their game, like other positions, whether it's how you punt or how you celebrate after punts like that?
I think so. You know, like Johnny was one guy I always looked up to. Andy Lee was another one. Darren Bennett, he's a bit older punter from the 90s, early 2000s that I've worked with a little bit. I mean, I think so. I've always had a handful of guys that I look up to, and so being able to actually work with Johnny, you know, after watching him since I started punting was pretty cool.
This is the philosophy of
Have you used Bennett as a trainer or someone you've worked with personally?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Have you worked with Darren Bennett, like as your trainer? Has he been a guy?
He's just someone, so I'd go down to Oceanside, California, it's like northern San Diego, and Michael Houston, I don't know if you guys remember him, he was a kicker back in the day. Kind of get a group of guys together that were all kind of free agents or coming out of college trying to make it. So Darren and Michael knew each other real well, so he would come in and kind of give us some coaching tips now and then. And he was also training the guy actually that took over from me at New Mexico too. the Australian guy.
Corey, are you booking weddings or taking charge of chapel, or what's the plan?
No, I haven't done any of that yet. You know, I think I actually have to renew that. I think it expires after so many years, so I'll have to look into it. But no, I mean, I told my sister I'm going to do her wedding, so I don't know if she thinks I'm joking or not, but I'm not. So.
This is the third team that you played for with a really good offense. Does it change your approach at all, knowing that you could be punting more so for pin a team deep, or how much you may punt a game? Does it change your approach at all, knowing you're playing for?
No, I think once you start getting too set on like, oh, I mean, I'm with a team with a good offense, I'm not going to punt as much, or I'm only going to be doing these kind of punts. I feel like it takes your focus off a little bit. So for me, I like to treat it as, any kind of punt can come up at any time. I could punt once, I could punt 10 times, like even good teams have bad days sometimes, So for me mentally, going into a game, I just assume every drive that we're going to punt. That way, I'm not ever caught off guard. I'm always prepared to go in case I have to.
You mentioned preseason. Could you have punted any better in the preseason? I mean, your numbers.
Definitely, yeah. Oh, no, for sure. I mean, the second punt of the first game, didn't love it. I was trying to pop up the ball and hit a little too straight up, so I could have got another 10 yards on that. First punt in Denver, it was a 40-yarder out of bounds, which isn't terrible, but I could have at least got another 20 on that one. So I think there's always somewhere to improve. I mean, even the 7-yarder that went out of bounds, yes, that's a great punt, but at the same time, I would have liked a little more hang time on it. Just little things like that. I get real picky on.
This is a practice philosophy. I mean, obviously you've been at 2 teams now your third. Does it change, or have you noticed anything different about maybe how the special teams approach practice here compared to elsewhere?
I mean, really, the only difference that I found here is just, when the punt period is. But I mean, other than that, at least from my perspective, it's kind of the same. The coach will kind of call it the direction and, just go through it and punt it. So, I mean, it's all been pretty similar.
Have you interacted with the quarterback yet?
Yes, I have. Yeah. Actually, my rookie year when we played here, I asked him if I could get his jersey. They were one of the throwback ones, and that was definitely a long shot, and I did not get one. But, yeah, no, they're great guys. Great guys.
Got to shoot your shot at least.
Got to, Why not?
Were you a Cal fan growing up then?
No, growing up, I was actually a 49ers fan, yeah.
Well, so was he.
Yeah. So we got one thing in common,
Maybe we should get the practice jersey.
Yeah, hopefully. Maybe I'll sneak over and grab it.